Dr. Jackie's here, changing life loving you. Yeah, that's the groove, life loving you. Feel the truth, move, life loving you. It's all we do, come on through, it's just for you.
Hey, Dr. Jacquie here, and welcome again to the Love, Life, and You podcast. Wanted you to just take a quick moment to like, subscribe, and to share. But now we're going to jump into our topic. I have a guest with me, Michelle Ferguson, also known as AKA Little Heifer. So Little Heifer, our topic today is getting your balance, finding your rhythm. And I wanted to talk about that because also I feel as if, you're young. I think the difference in the generation is going to give us a different perspective on how we look at that. But I think a lot of times that rhythm is talked about, and it's a different concept to me than balance. And I think because it's misconstrued, people aren't really living the life that they always saw themselves living based on these two different concepts and the conflict between them. So I just kind of wanted to jump in and kind of describe what I mean by rhythm. Your rhythm is your autonomous way in which you do what you do. So a lot of times, for example, my rhythm and my work-life balance, I see as two separate things. My work-life balance is about the boundaries that I set around how much I work, when I work, how much time I give to my family, how much time do I give to my God, my spiritual growth and development, and any other things that I want to add on my plate. And so those are two separate things though. So rhythm is more about function, whereas to me, work-life balance is more about boundaries. So I just want to kind of throw the question to you, how do you see your work-life balance, and then juxtapose again to your rhythm?
Yeah, well, I'm saying I'm millennial, a true millennial, in the sense of we like things to be comfortable in some regards and that we have control, right? So for us, for balance is, I don't want this thing to consume me. Or I can't put guardrails up on how much I dedicate time to it, right? So for someone to say, I want work-life balance means I don't want work to be my world.
Right.
I want work to be fulfilling. I know it's a means to an end for payment of my bills, but I don't want it to be all-consuming. I want to do the things in life that I enjoy, without having to worry about that. Oh my God, I'm gonna be like suffocated at this job that I'm at. But I think both balance and rhythm can be in flux depending on where you are in your life. I would say my rhythm right now, I have a rhythm. I get up, I do this, I do that. I come home, I do this, I do that. And it's pretty steady right now, but I'm single. So I know once I get married, I have children, I feel like my rhythm is going to change to what I do. And I have to find a new balance for my work. I have to find a new balance for my family life and even my personal life, what I do individually. That will change. I have to find a new balance. I have to find a new rhythm.
So I'm wondering so you're indicating that you think that your rhythm changes whether you're married or single.
I think so. Because I'm going to be doing different things. It's not just about me and my dog child right now. I have someone else that I have to tend to, cater to. Especially when you have children, I think your rhythm definitely going to change.
Well, you definitely have a child, because that dog child, you're over there cooking gourmet meals and stuff for the dog. Yeah. Didn't he have steak last week?
He sure did. He had salmon before that with broccoli.
Too many things.
And sweet potatoes. Feed the babies well.
Yeah, I see that. Well, I'm wondering, I'm hoping that Fritz, it is not Fitz, because he gives me a fit, but Fritz. I'm hoping that he does prepare you for a child. So you can really kind of see your rhythm with having him probably is going to be still a little bit different, as you were sharing, when you do. So let's go back to what you were sharing about being a millennial. You say you like things to be comfortable and you don't want to be consumed. One of the things I was wondering just off the cuff is like, why are you guys so worried about that? Because I don't know too many other generations that also don't enjoy their life.
We are like that because we look at our parents and our grandparents who have broken their back and all they did was work. And they suffered for it. Their health suffered for it. We see sometimes they suffered in their own personal lives, and we don't want to repeat the past of our parents.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether, because just because that's the way you see it doesn't mean that it's accurate, right? I'm not a millennial, but I do believe in working hard. I do believe in doing the things that I enjoy. But I live my life, and I think that there's more than one aspect. So I'm going to work hard because I want to put my doggone children through good schools. Now I'm also working hard because now my children have children. So now I have grandchildren. So it can't be always about the things that aren't going to get me into my expected end. So I'm willing to pay the price to do those things. Now, I think the thing about perspective is, what do you think the price is? It doesn't mean that I'm a working drone and I'm consumed by my job. It just means I know what it takes to scale the ladder and to, to get where you're trying to get to. And I think people that are lax, they won't get there. I think people that have a loose hand they won't get there. It's just, that's the way that the economy, the world works. But let's talk about, because I know you mentioned that you're a millennial, but to me, you're like a balance. Because I'll tell you now, you are a phenom when it comes to work. You work hard, but you do like your ability to do it this way or that way, to have choice in your work. Well, let's talk about how it looks in the professional arena. Like for me, I think that there's some confusion around, like if you're on a job and you're a boss, do I set the rhythm or do I let my employees kind of determine what the rhythm is? And so I kind of bow to what my employees prefer, right? And I don't know what your perspective is on that.
I don't think, one, if anybody's doing the bowing, I do think it's supposed to be those who are under the person who's in charge. But I think as a good leader, you do try to accommodate the rest of your staff so you all can work collaboratively together. But there shouldn't be a major margin between the two either.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like really the boss needs to own their rhythm. And I think that the boss sets the rhythm of the entire organization. I think that that's one of the problems now is a lot of times there really is no real rhythm, so there's no syncopation, and then there's not this harmonious work environment because that person is not taking the lead and saying, this is the rhythm and this is the way that we're going to do it. So I agree with you. So that's it in a professional arena. Let's talk about rhythm in, say, a household, in a family or in a romantic relationship. More so in a family to me. Because, I look back and I think about, like, what has my rhythm been in my family? I have a different rhythm than my husband's. But the difference is, I'm ... he's ... But in terms of the tempo, it's the same tempo. The tempo is harmonious. So we're able to create something that works well together. Now, some people, their rhythms are just, they're so very different that there's no harmony in them. But not only does the boss need to set the rhythm so that things can be more harmonious, I think that we need to understand that work-life balance has to be flexible. So I think a lot of people say, oh, this is it, I only work at this time, and you're not going to get very far with that. Because really your work-life balance needs to breathe and become agile, right? So work-life balance sits on top of these seasons of your life. For example, suppose I'm praying, oh God, please, I need to raise, I want to earn extra money. I got my kid coming up now, they're in middle school, they're going to be graduating in about 3-4 years. I need such and such of amount to get them to their favorite college. I need to be able to pay that tuition. That's what you're asking for, right? So what things look like are very different often than the way that we see it in our mind. One of my biggest fallacies was I used to think, I'm going to work real hard like the Dickens so I can get rich so I don't have to work anymore. That is such a fallacy. It just doesn't work like that. Like Biggie said, more money, more problems. Everybody I know that's very wealthy work all the time. So work-life balance, again, has to breathe with the size suit you're wearing. I'm just putting that as a figure of speech, right? So what I noticed that people learn to do is they learn to make their fun fit into that same container of work. So they might work, they might have to fly to so-and-so for a business meeting. They might stay over an extra day where they just, spoil themselves at the spa, go eat at Michelin star restaurants and that sort of thing. They might go with one of their family members so that they can really enjoy themselves and keep family in the balance. And so I think that we have a very generic way of looking at work-life balance. Number 2, I want to talk about the seasons. So if I'm praying about earning this extra money, now I'm going to come into a time where I'm going to be seeding, meaning I'm going to be putting things in the water in hopes of them giving me a greater return. that's busier than your regular work-life balance.
Right.
You're gonna have to work some extra hours. But God willing, it pays off and you hit pay dirt. Harvest is extremely, extremely exhaustingly busy. Because a farmer has to put the seed in the ground when it grows and it's time to bring it in. He only has so much time to get that fruit or that vegetable harvested before it rots on the vine. Same thing in life. So there's seasons where you're in a harvest season. Work-life balance has to give way to I'm in gathering this blessing, right? So for me, I don't let anything break my focus. Hear me now. I don't let anything break my focus. Why? Because I understand how things work. I love that saying when people say, you know, it just doesn't work like that. There's so much of that in our life that we don't really understand how things work. You want increase, you got to now give energy. M equals what?
MC squared.
There you go. So now you got to put in more energy because you're wanting more of a return back, right? So, you know, now it's my harvest season. So if a birthday, Valentine's Day, something like that comes up, I bank it. Because I'm not going to be controlled by some man-made holidays when I understand that this is my season. So there's the ability to recognize it, and then there's the ability to know what I ought to do. So I know that there's a window. All windows do what? Close. So I'm going to ingather, I'm going to bank that holiday, that birthday. So a lot of times we do these lavish, outlandishly lavish. I'm talking about St. Regis hotels, Four Seasons hotels, and you butter yourself up because you worked hard to earn it. So you work hard, you play hard. But I'm going to now bank that birthday, or if it was a anniversary or a holiday, for that time now when I can put it within the season where now I can really enjoy it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, you said a couple of things. You said one, you know, you have a job where, you know, you can take time and maybe spend an extra day. I think even with that, you had to get to that point. So you said to put in a good amount of input to get that output.
There you
You
go.
can't just start off that way.
There you
like
go.
you have to work to that. So I think it's important for someone to recognize, what do I really want to work hard for? What's important to me? So if my goal is to just work and spend most of my time with my family, I'm not trying to climb the ladder, then it's cool. You find the cushy job where you can have all this free time.
Not a cushy job, an easy job.
Well, easy job. Where
Because
you
you're not
can
going to get paid.
right, where you can have this free time, but then you have to, like, if you're a single, that's the person, use that time to grind, to put in that work, to really get that equity so you can do that.
But you see, I thought like you did. Since I'm single, but for me, I liked having fun too when I was single. But the truth is, your real costs become exponential though when you get married and you have some doggone chillins.
Yeah.
Children suck up. You're spending over $250 like a month easily. I'm not even talking about, you know, the I'm just talking about the basics, the Pampers, the diaper cream, you know, putting them in clothing.
Yeah.
Forget about all the extra stuff. Then once they get of age, you got to send them to a daycare. You're spending $250 a week for daycare. So those costs, and then you love this child. You don't want something bad to happen to the child, so you want to put the child in a good environment with highly trained individuals that are going to look after your child, to have cameras so you can see what's happening with your baby.
Yeah.
There's no tree in my backyard that I was able to go to and go pull off some bills to go pay for that. I had to generate it, right? So I think that there's just some basic truths that we got to embrace. Since Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, God said that man would work for his keep. That's never going to change.
And I'm going to box both of them when I get to heaven. Now I got to go to work.
Me too.
And have labor pains.
There you go.
And be on the rag. I don't like
okay,
that.
so I'm with you on that. Let's gang them up, you know, when we get there. We got to get there first, but yeah. So that is what it is. It's just like I was telling somebody the other day. They were saying, you know, I just don't want anybody to hurt me. I said, girl, as long as you're living, somebody's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
It's a part of life. It's the fee for living life. What you got to be concerned about is, were they worth the pain? That's the question that you need to be asking yourself. Were they worth the pain? So here's the same, to me, context about this work-life balance and what we give our energy to. Is it worth it? I just don't believe that any generation should believe that everything is the way that they fear is not the thing to be led by, first of all. But number two, get yourself into a position. Like one thing I love about millennials, they grind. They love to go do these businesses and stuff like that. But now, here's the thing, you grinding from mama house. You living in mom's house, you're not able to support yourself. That business that you've created is unable to support you on your own. So we got to look at it for what it is. How long are you going to be living with mom and dad? Are you going to get married and also live in mom and dad's back room, or when you have children? So we got to now add those things up and then figure out what does that mean that we need to do.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, like, you know, when you're single, so if you are living at mom's house, you don't have your own bills, you better maximize that opportunity that you can go grind and you can try new things. You can't always just try new things and just, oh, I'm going to change my business this, oh, I'm going to change my career here. When you have a family to take care of, it's not so simple. You can do it, but it takes much more work. And again, you have to ask yourself, how much am I willing to work to get to where I want?
Well, what's your struggle with, say, rhythm? Do you feel like you're in your rhythm right now?
Do I feel like I'm in I think I'm in a rhythm right now. I don't know if it's necessarily my rhythm. And I think it changes, especially when like health things. So that's creeping back up. So like my rhythm's changing. I'm like really, really tired when I get home, but then I can't sleep. So then like I'm trying to find the rhythm of having energy for the day, because I may crash around 12, but I still got much more day to go after 12 o'clock. So then it's like, okay, what can I do to get myself energized so I can push out what I need to push out? So I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm not in my rhythm. I don't feel like I'm in my rhythm yet. Like I feel like I was, and then I got it, and then something kicked me off of my rhythm.
So this health issue you feel like is really kind of interfering.
I have a question. How does one accept when it's time to change the season? When you understand, how do you accept that the window is now closed? It's not for me to embrace a different season. So you might have a harvest, but now it's time to embrace winter. You might be in spring, but now it's time to embrace summer. How do you embrace the new season and accept that the old season is gone? Because some people are staying in the place of harvest, but there's nothing left to harvest. People refuse to embrace the down period of winter. So how does one embrace changing into new seasons and accepting that window is closed?
I'm going to start with this. This is why I think that you cannot fear something, because that's what's going to be the biggest obstacle to you beginning to realize and to see with clear vision what's right in front of you. So I think recognizing the signs. So for example, you know, I used to complain all the time when there was challenge and I would be so busy I wouldn't know. Then I started paying attention, like, are things increasing around me? When you see opportunities, like a whole bunch of opportunities, but every opportunity, you could be praying, God, give me opportunities. But guess what each opportunity means? More work. It means you got to send the person a one-pager. You need to have follow-up meetings. You need to develop proposals and things like that. Every opportunity creates about 4 times the work, right? But how do you grow and how do you scale your business if you don't take the opportunities? So again, I want to just really attack this notion that you can just live a good life and you don't really put a lot of grind into something. I reject, though, the idea that because I'm black or that because I'm a woman or because I live in this city or this state that I got to work harder than anybody else. I reject that. I've already made a declaration. I refuse to ever work as hard as I worked, say 10 years ago, for the amount of money that I'm getting. I just refuse it. I don't think that that is a proper perspective for me to have for many different reasons. Because it's been proven, if you meditate on something for 17 seconds, it will create additional thoughts of that same frequency or positivity. So you'll start thinking, so in other words, your ability to see possibilities expands as you stay in a certain space, right? Likewise, negative. So then those things are what starts to appear. The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. Science says you create from the inside the world that you live on the outside. It's basically saying the same thing. And so I reject that. Instead, I say I am the author of my own book. I am the sailor on my own ship. So I create the life that I want to live. And I think that the biggest thing that causes pain is perception. If I perceive that I'm giving my life's blood and I'm not living my life, that's what I'm going to be producing, or I'm going to spend my life running from that. I want to reframe it. No, I'm going to live the life that I always saw. It's God that puts this desire inside of your mind that shows you these things that you see yourself wanting to do or becoming. So now you got to put action to that to bring it, out of your head and into reality. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
And I don't like to say things. I'm really careful sometimes about vocabulary because some things sounds like so ethereal but what I'm saying is I believe as a man thinketh, so is he. So I think that I am powerful. I think that I am able. I do not think that there's any system that can keep me away or out of the person that God created me to be. Period, dot, full stop. I believe that. So therefore, racism, can it try? It can, but it won't. It doesn't mean sexism. It doesn't mean poverty. So I believe that if I'm not fear focused, because fear brings what you're fearing to you, I'm going to be faith focused because I think that there's somebody that created everything that's bigger than any person on the job, any conglomerate, anybody. So it's about me fulfilling purpose and living out and bringing into manifestation the potential, that potent power that's on the inside of me.
So it sounds like a lot of people are living in fear of the next season, and you're telling them just embrace the new season with the possibilities and be open to it.
Yeah, create your world. That's what I'm saying. Think and be. Don't fear and run. Think and be. This is the thing that helped me when I was trying to get married. So my parents have been married almost 40 years, and then I see my family break up. So now no one had ever taught me anything about relationships other than my psychology classes and stuff like that. And I feared, oh my God, I feared getting hurt by friends. I feared hurting love. And what I realized is if you learn how to negotiate things, there's nothing to fear anymore because you now have a confidence on how to navigate relationships. This is why I birthed not only what's bothering you, but also relationship keys. Because I wanted to teach people what I learned about relationships. When I knew how relationships are, I understood the signs of what makes a good relationship, what makes a bad relationship, who is for me versus who is against me. It took all the guesswork out. So now I was able to make informed choices, and I could clearly see the difference between someone that's suitable for me versus someone that's unsuitable for me. Because there's a lot of good people out there. They're good, but they're not good for you.
What do you say to that, Michelle?
No, I agree with the fear part. I'm still very fearful of a lot of things, but I'm coming into the realization from life experience and Dr. Jacquie that yes, fear is a mindset, but because you're thinking it, your behavior follows. So you do things that actually perpetuate what you feared in the first place. So like fear is also like an energy magnet. Like you said, you attract what you're fearing, but then also your behavior lines up because I don't want to do this. I don't experience that. So you're doing things to make that thing happen in the first place. So I'm learning or trying to learn how not to do that. And some things I don't know I fear, and so it's kind of put in my face. I'm like, oh, that was a fear. Oh, I did that, and that's why this happened. So I don't disagree with anything that's said.
Yeah.
I think it's a learning process, and then once you recognize it and acknowledge it, then you become more aware of what you're doing and try to change it. Excuse me. But it's a process. It's not like it's overnight, because if you had this fear for 30 years, it's not going to just drop, but you have to constantly remind yourself not to do the thing. I was looking on Instagram today. I'm an Instagram student. And I know a guy was saying we focus so much on the negative and we rehearse what's negative is going to happen. But what would happen if we kept rehearsing the positive? This can happen and it's good. This is going to happen and it's good. I'm going to receive this. I'm going to receive that, and just frame it and see how your world changes, and you actually attract the positive, not the negative.
But that's why I say don't watch the movie.
Yeah.
Because you keep thinking about the bad, rehearsing it, ruminating over it, and forming more neural pathways to continue keeping you being thoughtful, mindful, focusing on the thing that you fear. we spend more time thinking about what we want to avoid versus what we want in our life. And so, to me, once you make that decision, I'm going to change that. It's like something reminds you all the time, like, uh-oh, that was a negative thought, or, oh, you're starting to think the wrong way. You forgot. Remember now, you can do this. Remember, this will happen for you. Remember so-and-so. And then you start to make the shift. And even though you've been doing it for 30, 40 years, I can tell you, because I'm only 40. But I can tell you, my shift was in less than a year. I could notably see the difference, not only in the way that my thoughts were forming and what I entertained in my mind, but I could also see the difference in what I was producing that was in front of me.
I think that's realistic. I think people think it's going to happen instantaneously, and it's not like that.
No.
That's still a process. It's quick to change in a year. You've been doing something for 40 years, but it's still a process. Things are not just overnight. You know, we are the microwave generation, like you used to tell me when I was green out of college. We are that way. We like things to happen instantaneously. And we want what we want when we want it, and we want it now.
But I think it's because you don't know any different. So that's why even what's bothering you, this is one of the assessments that I've created that I really want to get out to people, because it helps you to start to pinpoint the areas of your life that are out of sync, that are out of rhythm, that are out of balance, so that you can kind of hone in on, oh, you know, this is where some of my problems are coming from. This is the origin. And then you can kind of start to work on them. And the work is not that difficult, but it's more abstract.
Yeah.
It's the time that you need to sit with self and think and drill down on what you feel, why you feel it, where did this come from?
Yeah.
It sounds like the key to unlocking work-life balance is your mindset, what you fix your mind on. So it seems as if your rhythm is unhappy or it's negative, or if you feel like your work-life balance is negative, it may not be that way. It might be an issue with your perception. Do you guys have anything to say on that?
I would agree. Again, I'm a student of Instagram, and it's another video that I saw. It was a man saying that he doesn't believe in work-life balance, because if you have a balance, it means it's a scale. Something's going to be higher weight than the other. He says he prefers harmony. So my seasons may change. I may have to work more, but I'm going to be in harmony with everything else. So my family is going to align with, I have to do more in this area, but I'm going to find a way for it to all work in concert together. And I kind of like that perspective of harmony versus balance.
It's what I just explained earlier at the beginning of the podcast. I talked about the syncopation of the different, you know, to-doom, toom, verse, doom, doom. I think things have to harmonize. But I think it's a fallacy, this work-life balance.
Yeah.
It's really a fallacy, because if you just say it and you don't go through our discourse to really explain the ebbs and flow of it, people are going to miss it, and they're thinking that they're fighting for something that's really not what they think. Number two, I have to just say that I feel that, I don't know, I just really want young people to win. I want them to really be happy and not out of, you know, spend their time worrying about this or that, but live. In every aspect, live.
Yeah. I think my generation I think we're trying to figure out what's more important to us. And I think what's been more important to us so far is just freedom of choice, whatever that may look like. So I might want to spend my money on experiences and vacation, and I might put back me climbing the ladder and getting, you know, more wealth. It's selfish. Your children are going to hurt, but now we're not having children like, you know, as our former generations, or we're having them much later. And there is that fear factor. We look at what the cost of living is and what I'm making. How am I going to get out this cycle? And we kind of like give up. I'm not, so I might as well enjoy what I can enjoy now.
It seems
I understand
like
it.
It seems like we're two generations on two different tempos. And so, one thing, Doc, Dr. and Michelle, when you recognize your tempo is a certain way, how do you recognize things that are not your tempo, that are not going to bring you into harmony? As we know in music, if there's a 4 count and a 3 count, they will be synchronized. So how do you guys recognize things that are not your tempo to make sure that you guys stay on a positive mindset?
Well, I think it's easy to know what fits and what doesn't. Again, once you start to careen your eyes to really be focused on what's in front of you and recognizing the different seasons, I think it becomes very easy. Number two, the more you know what your goals and your focuses are, it's easy to know whether this or that fits with it.
What about you, Michelle?
I don't disagree. I'm still learning. To be honest with you, I'm still learning. and then differentiating where this isn't the right tempo or I need to adjust to this tempo. Maybe I need to speed up. Maybe I need to slow down. I think that's sometimes also my issue, like recognizing, yeah, this is working then, but it's not going to work now. So maybe I need to change. And sometimes I'm like, well, no, I'll second guess. They're like, or I'll just put my feeling around and say, no, I'm not going to do that. So still learning to do that right now.
True. And Doc, what do you say to there's a stat that my church had posted that 42% of Gen Z feel very pessimistic about the future.
Yeah, and again, a part of that has to do with they feel out of sync. So you draw inward. You find what is my tempo in the midst of whether you consider this chaos or not. What is my tempo? What is my place in the midst of that? So you have to be careful not to be so outward focused. It's about your individual, then it becomes about your collective, right? So where am I going? What do I see myself becoming? And I think I was talking to a young gentleman who just graduated college, and all of his friends are very depressed. They're thinking that they have no future. They're also getting married very young now because they don't know what's going to happen with the future. I just feel like that is so outward focused. You're so worried about something that hasn't happened yet. Worry about who you're going to become, and then get about doing it. And you'll wake up one day and see that you're in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing with the right people. Well, I think that's pretty much it today. Any closing words, Michelle?
Yeah, I think this was a really good to even talk through. And I would say once you figure out what you're supposed to do the work that it takes to get there. There's always work. It's not going to just fall in your lap. You have to get there and remove the fear. Just personal experience. I was looking for a house, but I was very afraid of a mortgage, and I never closed. And then once, prayer, and I dropped that fear, I got a house. But there was still work for me to do. It didn't just drop in my lap. I had to go on multiple tours, put in multiple offers, look for multiple programs, and that's the thing that came about. So just do your work and think positive and charge ahead.
But I'm sure now that you have that house, you got to continue to be able to pay.
Absolutely. It's still surreal. I still sometimes can't believe I'm in a house. I'll pull up and like, this is really mine. Yeah. Like it still hasn't set in fully. I mean, it did one day because I was like boohoo crying in the living room. But yeah, it's still a surreal thing. I can't take credit for it. There was definitely help. Dr. D, God first and foremost. But it's just like, yeah, it's like I'm in the house. As a single Black woman in America.
That's big.
That's big.
And now you got a place for your kiddies when you get married. They have babies and, and it's yours.
And it's mine.
Well, thank you so much for sharing and joining the podcast today. Remember, stand by because we got much more to share. I'll see you the next time on the next podcast.
Little heifer signing out.
Hey, Dr. Jacquie here. I'm your how-to lady. How to do life, how to do love, and how to do you, boo. So click, like, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more to come.